Hey, thanks for coming.
Come on, let's get her in. She's lost a lot of blood.
No ID and had multiple lacerations.
I'm with social services. I'm not going to hurt you. Do you know who did this to you? Anything on that girl last night?
Let us do our jobs.
Girls have been disappearing around for years.
This place never disappoints.
What if there really is someone out there killing lots of them?
What are you feeding them, meat?
Women get reported missing all the time.
Hey.
And most of them turn out to be nothing. Be ready.
These type of situations are lost cause.
Stay the fuck out of my job.
There was some bitch asking just a lot of questions.
Fading down. It's so beautiful. You hear the music?
You just couldn't leave it alone, could you?
I just need a little more time.
Darling, this is your salvation.
Today, I have the honor of interviewing two talented and creative filmmakers in the industry, Andy Armstrong and Danielle Burgio. They're the co-writers, producers, and director of SQUEALER, a horror film inspired by real events. SQUEALER is a film that will make you scream, squirm, and question your own sanity. It follows a police officer and a social worker who uncovers a horrifying secret at a pig farm. Andrew Armstrong, the director, writer, and Danielle Burgio, who's the writer and the producer. Together, they have created a terrifying masterpiece that will shock you to the core. Please welcome Andy and Danielle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Wow. I tell you, when I saw this film, boy, I was terrified for a while there.
That's really good.
You know, it made me not. As a matter of fact, I think I was the one that was squealing. You know, because it was rough. And you know what's really rough is when Emma told me, the PR person, when she told me that this is based on true events, that even scared me even more.
Yeah.
And that leads me to the first question. What inspired you to make a horror film based on true events, and how did you find out about the true story about SQUEALER?
The real event happened just outside Vancouver, Canada, and a friend of mine a few years ago did a documentary about the case, and he wanted to recreate a couple of incidences, and so he asked me to come up there to stage these little action moments. And until I went up there and worked with him for a few days, I had not heard about the story at all. I knew nothing about it. It seemed that a lot of people outside Canada didn't know much about the story, but
yeah.
But once he told me the story, and I saw some of the interviews and some of the bits and pieces that he'd shot for it, I realized there was a feature film there to be made. I just wasn't quite sure how to approach it at first, and I then had told Danielle about it, and she and I started working together, and she brought it up again. We decided we want to make a movie together, and we thought, what should we do? And she immediately reminded me of this story. And so we sort of tumbled into it that way. And it's a terrifying a terrifying true story, or it's based on a terrifying true story. And it's, you know, like so many things, there's nothing stranger than real life, and it's yeah, it did happen. A shocking story, really.
Very, very shocking. I mean, I honestly, I didn't know anything about that, like the story at all. I don't even remember hearing it in the trades at all, or in the newspaper, or anything like that.
No,
You know,
it was it was very sort of hushed at the time, and part of that, I think, was because one element that we didn't lean into so heavily in the movie is that a lot of the blame, or a lot of the criticism anyway, about why it went on so long was aimed at the police in British Columbia, because there was certainly a quite a serious level of sort of apathy and lack of just lack of concern. Really, these women had been disappearing for years, literally years, and that people would go to the police and say that this woman's vanished or whatever, and they say, oh, well, it's a transient woman and she's moved on to the next town or whatever, you know, and they would always sort of shrug it off. And it was completely accidental, really, that they caught him eventually. The real character, they were called to his property on a unlicensed gun call because he'd had a gun and he was shooting animals or something with it, and they realized he didn't have a license, so they went round and they searched, or they were going to search his property for the gun, and the first policeman in the door opened the freezer, and there was a couple of severed heads in there and several hands and things. So that was the start of it. Wow. But you know, they don't really know how many people he killed, and it's
terrifying. It was a terrifying story. And so Andy had shared this with me many years ago. And so when the stars aligned and we finally were in a position to do something together, because we had been trying for years, but our schedules just didn't allow it. That this story had stuck with me for that many years, but we really wanted to take some liberties with it. Our story is not a true story. It is inspired by the true events. So there's quite a strong thread that is pulled from the true story, but then it's infused with quite a lot of fiction. So it's a bit of a hybrid.
Cool.
Yes.
You're creating drama and stuff.
Absolutely.
We were very inspired by this horrific and powerful story. And so some of that is there. And so I think the true crime lovers, you know, now this, you know, when Andy first was involved with the story was a while back, and it was true, no one had heard of it. Now that true crime has become as popular as it is, I'm hearing more and more people are saying like, oh, I know this story, I've heard this story. So I think it's finally making its way to the public. And so I hope that those people of the true crime fan base will be satisfied, but also that we will satisfy the horror genre as well in the places where we've taken some liberties and put our storytelling hats on and blended the two together.
Can you come up with some of the challenges and benefits of working together on this project?
Yeah, I think
for me, it's a whole lot of benefit. You know, I feel like Andy and I really have complement each other in the different strengths that we bring. And I'll say in my case, like where my weaknesses are is really where he's strong. So it's been a great process. And in all the places where I feel like I might just want to give up and just say, oh, I can't do this anymore. Having a partner to just keep pushing you forward is great. You know, whenever one of us feels stuck, the other one gives a little kick and we just tend to go. And then I think also the fact that we're, you know, a man and a woman team, that we're bringing both aspects to the story and to the characters. I mean, Andy always has a tendency to write beautifully for women. Like he had several scripts that I read when we first met, and I was really impressed with the way that he portrays women. He's always been a champion for women. I know that's really important to him. So that's great, because that's important to me too. And storytelling, I really want to, you know, represent the women well.
Right.
So that part has been easy. In terms of challenge, technology has made challenges easier, because there was a time that we lived close to one another, so we were able to work at the kitchen table, and that was great. And then sometimes life has us challenge. I'm actually currently in Europe at the moment, so, but because of technology, that kind of takes care of some of those challenges. And I think we've managed to get through it very well together.
Good. Here's a good question, because I found these elements in your film. How did you balance the elements of horror, thriller, and drama in this film? What are some of the themes and messages that you want to convey to the audience?
Well, first of all, we sort of set off making characters that were not perfect. It was very important to both of us to have these, just as in real life, you know, characters are never all good or all bad. They're all there's a mishmash of different sort of percentages with everybody. So it's very important to us to build in people's flaws as much as their strengths. So once we'd had these characters, putting the story together was sort of, to a certain extent, easier, because we knew what these people would do. And I think for me, that's the thing that I'm probably most proud of in the picture, is that all the characters in it are three-dimensional. That they're not, you know, they're not perfectly white hat or right. Black hat. They're flawed. They have strengths, they have weaknesses, and they're very human. And I think we really wanted to keep a movie that was very grounded in reality. I think the more real it is, the scarier it is, because this guy did operate in a real life world, and I didn't want to have anything that was sort of so fantastic that you could brush it aside. I think it's scarier when this could happen to you or I. And there is a little bit of a social commentary there, in that about the way we deal with and treat some of the less fortunate people in society. As we said earlier to someone, you know, had he been killing supermodels, he'd have been caught in a couple of weeks. But because people cared less about his victims, he was able to go on for 30 years or so. And I think that alone is some sort of commentary about society, you know, that we do dismiss people that we consider less valuable. And I think that's a terrible sadness. You know, these are all, they're all human beings, and, you know, he took a lot of lives.
Sure.
And it's important that we respect everybody, really.
Sure. I love the cast. The cast was fantastic. It's like everyone had great chemistry that I saw. You know, the story went very nicely. And at the end, I don't want to give the ending away, but it was like, I was expecting like a hero to jump out of somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was great, though. You know, I loved it, you know, and I didn't get into the story, but that didn't really happen to him, right?
No.
Yeah,
sadly, he's sitting in jail.
Whoa, yeah, it's like, yeah.
There's quite a lot of liberties that we took. And, you know, earlier you mentioned the horror, the thriller, and the drama. I think like the horror and the thriller it's part of the story, so we leaned into that. But the drama, I think, really comes more from the relationships, and we really did work on building that. So it's our aim and our hope that the audience will connect with these characters when they get to know them, and seeing those relationships. And I'm glad that you picked up on that, because I think developing the relationships between the characters helps give them something to resonate with, tells you a little bit more about who they are, and hopefully it makes you care about them as the story progresses. So you're really with them on the journey, not just the good ones, but the bad ones. And like Andy said, not all the good are good, and the bad are not entirely bad. So hopefully you get to know each of these characters on a human level. As eccentric as they are, they're still very human. And so hopefully that takes you on the ride.
Okay,
it really is a wonderful cast too. They're wonderful people. Every single one of them brought something special to it, that they brought themselves. I'd love to take credit for directing all these bits and pieces, but each one of them brought something bigger than was on the page. It was wonderful to work with these people, that all of them. It was just a real sort of honor to be around them.
Well, a lot of the actors that are well-known actors, like Theo Rossi, I know his work. I've interviewed filmmakers, and he's just a fantastic.
He's fantastic, yeah.
And Tyrese Gibson also. Everybody was on the set. Everybody that was in this movie, you did a great job directing. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, it was very believable. Last question: what are some of the future projects that you are working on, or planning to work on together or separately? It doesn't matter. Do you have any advice for the future filmmakers who want to make their own films?
We have several projects that Danielle and I will do together again. We're just waiting to get it to the perfect time to pitch them. They're all in different genres from this, but we'll certainly be doing more together.
This was our first. We really wanted to come out the gate with this one, but we have quite a lot of big plans to follow up from here. So we hope we'll get the opportunity to do that.
Well, fantastic movie. Great job. It's scaring me. Sleep, we'll probably go to a pig farm or any farm at all. So
stay away from those sausages.
Exactly what I'm saying. So the film comes out in theaters on November 3rd, correct?
Correct.
It's Friday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good luck with the film. I'm pretty sure it's going to do great. Especially
it's also on the same day. It'll also be on digital and on demand as well, all on Friday. So you can see it wherever you are.
Fantastic. Hey, it's coming from Lionsgate. Hey, you got to. They're great. I love them. So congratulations and God bless. And thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.